Hello, hello. Hey, everyone. We're going to be waiting for a few more people to sign on, probably start this around 11:05 once we have everyone signed in.
Now I got you. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you were muted too.
Yeah.
So, hey, everyone. Hey, Cindy. We're going to start probably 11:05, maybe a couple minutes after. Just going to wait for some people to roll in. And then I'm going to put all these names into the name generator to raffle off some prizes. Cindy, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. I like that wall you're sitting in front
of. Oh, yeah. So I'm still working on it. See, it's not like all the way done, but I was just doing a background for my office. So
I like that.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it from Amazon, and it's like foamy, so it also is going to help with and stuff. So
nice, very smart.
Yeah, kind of empty in here, so it's still echoey, but I'm working on the home office setup.
Someone joining us from India. That's awesome.
Wow.
So if everyone that's in already, attendees want to tell us where you're from, that'd be awesome. Really want to know where everyone is right now in the world. Well, just type it in the chat. Asheville, North Carolina. I think we'll get a lot of that. Cleveland, Ohio. Wildemar, California. Never heard of that. Phoenix. Marion, Ontario, Canada. Very cool. All over the place. San Antonio, Texas. Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. That's where you're from, Jacqueline. Okay, I knew you were in Pennsylvania. I just assumed Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. Everyone, like when I say Beaver Falls, everyone's like, where, what? And when I say Pittsburgh, everyone's like, oh yeah, I know where that's at. So it's easier just to say Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Let me make sure that this is recording. It is. That's a good thing. Yeah, we're going to wait a couple minutes. There's like 70 people registered. I assume a quarter of those people will show up to this. So then we'll get going. If anyone's listening that's interested in the raffle to get a free coaching session from myself, please put your name in the chat. That way I can put it into my little random name generator on my end. And I'm going to put my website in the chat too for people that need that information. Michelle Meltman. Ariel, would you do me a favor and just write down first names of people who are typing their names in? Thanks. Michelle, Sarah, Larissa, Michelle M. Suri, Maria, Karen. Cool. Thanks for spending your Sundays with us for an hour. Definitely appreciate it. And Cindy and Jacqueline, I appreciate you being here too. It's nice to see smiling, familiar faces when you're doing stuff like this.
Definitely. It helps a lot.
I had some messages of like, I can't make this today. I can't be a panelist. I'm like, it's fine. But if I only had one person and they backed out last minute, I would be like, oh no. Okay. Probably wait a couple more minutes and then we will get started. How's your weekends going, ladies?
Pretty good. I've been putting up this background, so that's taken most of the weekend.
Is that coming in like sheets? What is that?
It's like 2 by 2 squares.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good idea. How about
I've
you?
never seen that before. That's interesting.
I like it because it's just so, it's plain, it's aesthetically pleasing. It does look like it would absorb some sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get some shelves and a little bit of decoration to make it not so plain, but it always makes me so happy when I can see the hobbit hole behind yours.
Ariel's not thrilled with that, but yeah. Are you taking inspiration from Ernesto's posts about all of his like rooms that he has in his house to do therapy and coaching sessions? Because his stuff is pretty outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah, I love all the ideas that he gives everyone just to have a good setup for doing things like this and for online therapy.
Yeah. He's got it down pretty good. His little camera setup with like 9 cameras, 3 mics, 6 lights. It's like
I got one ring light and I'm still trying to figure out how to position that. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, Ariel's been rehearsing for plays in the house, so she has a ring light and moving it all around just to get the best lighting and capture that.
It's actually up there with him. So
It is. It is up here.
I don't know if you want to turn it out. I mean, you can't stand I mean, you look beautiful.
Yeah, it looks brighter.
Gorgeous with the light on.
Fair enough.
I know you hate it. It's too bright.
It's really all right. All right. So for those of you who are in attendance, I see trickling in still pretty slowly. Give another minute or two. I was just telling other people that if you want to be entered into the raffle to win a free coaching session with myself, just put your first name and last initial in the chat. If you just joined, feel free to just tell us where you are in the world. We've got people in here from India, from Canada, from California, all over the place. So I'll be raffling that off at the end after we do some like questions and comments. And before we get going, I'm going to introduce our panelists. And panelists, you probably didn't expect that, but I just want y'all to introduce yourselves, who you are, what you do, and where you live. So whoever wants to go before we get started.
I'll go. Hi, everybody. I am Patrick.Casale. So yes, I am Patrick's wife. I'm downstairs, so I'm in Asheville, North Carolina with him. Welcome to the seminar. Thanks for joining us.
Did you get Pablo J from Balsam NC for the raffle too?
Can you let me write down the names? I love you. Go ahead.
Cool.
I got it.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Metodic. I am located in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. I am a trauma and grief therapist, and I've been in private practice for about 5 years.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Norton, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm a couples therapist here in Asheville, and I love doing premarital counseling and relationship coaching and other couples therapy type things. And I also have a business called Mountain Practice Journeys, where I do private practice coaching and custom web design and courses for therapists.
Yeah, I want to say thank you all to be here and to participate. And if anyone is in need of web design or coaching services, Cindy's really fantastic. Her web design and her logo design is really top notch, and I highly recommend her. Really creative and just really a joy to work with. So we're going to get started. I still see people trickling in, and we'll kind of circle back to some of the stuff we talked about at the end. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to get going. And ladies, if one of you can just let me know once I share that you can see what I'm looking at, that would be fantastic.
Yep.
We see
All
it.
right. So today we are talking about imposter syndrome and what that means, how it comes up, how that impacts us in our professional and personal life, and the ways that we can kind of navigate through that so that we can live our best lives and work towards achieving the things that we want, and even starting the career path that we feel really scared to jump into, or changing something significant. Even as I'm reading this, I'm having major imposter syndrome. Okay. So I am Patrick.Casale. I'm a mental health and addictions therapist in Asheville, North Carolina, travel influencer, and a therapist, coach, and strategist. I'm an owner and creator of Casale Coaching and Consulting, Resilient Mind Counseling, and Empowered Escape. So my story with imposter syndrome in particular is a pretty significant one. I think it haunts me almost every day of my life. I've been in private practice now since 2017. I think I held on to my agency job several years longer than I should have, just for fear that I would not be successful out on my own, that I was not competent enough, proficient enough, professionally developed enough. I didn't have enough experience, and I certainly wasn't going to make it. That's certainly something that came up very often, was like, if you're out on your own, you don't know what you're doing. How are you going to get clients? This is not going to be something that's going to work out for you. And I think we all get to our breaking point eventually when we feel like we need something to be different. That something to be different moment came just after working like 60-hour weeks, being on call all the time, feeling guilty to put PTO requests in, feeling really overwhelmed at my job, not enjoying being a clinician anymore. I just felt like I was going through the motions and feeling really burnt out. I was always waiting to take like the next time off or the next even chunk of time just to get away, just to decompress and reset. I finally made the decision to like start slowly, start my private practice at night. And I started getting clients here and there, and it was really exciting. I was like, wow, I get to go to my own office, see clients on my own terms, charge them what I feel like I'm worth. That's a whole nother story with this, right? And I have freedom and flexibility and creativity again. And I started having all of these ideas, but yet I still kept telling myself it's not time yet. You can't do this. You won't be successful at this. This is just a fluke. You're just lucking into these clients. They're not going to be around consistently. All of those narratives going on. And eventually I just decided, I was like, I'm going to put my notice in. I gave like a 60-day notice, which was outrageous. I was a supervisor and it just felt appropriate, but it was way too long. And I worked it out, and I was doing private practice on the side, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Life is going to be really good. I leave. I go away. I go to Scotland for about 2.5 weeks. I realize I don't have paid time off anymore, and that becomes really scary. All of the clients that I had kind of obtained and accumulated through that time either moved out of town, discontinued therapy, or just felt like they didn't want to come back consistently. And I was like, oh no, I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Needless to say, 3 years later, my practice has been full for a very long time. I don't get that fear as much as I used to, but that imposter syndrome still comes up often, almost daily, especially when stepping out into a new venture, especially when betting on yourself, feeling like you're going to put yourself out to the world and be judged and seen. People are going to find you out for being fraudulent or incompetent, or like you don't deserve to be here. It happens very often. I think in all professions, but especially the helping professions and the creative professions, where we are kind of exposing ourselves in a way where we're vulnerable, where we maybe have insecure backgrounds and anxious attachment styles, and we just feel like we get very overwhelmed by people seeing us for who we are. So I step into this coaching profession to help therapists build their businesses and start their own private practices. It's been something I've been thinking about for 3 years. Every time I thought I should launch this, I kept telling myself reasons that I shouldn't. What do you have to offer that's different? Why you? There are there are already tons of coaches out there doing this work, why would anyone hire you? People are just going to find out that you have nothing to say. So that thing that comes up for you, that voice, that inner critic, that perfectionist tendency of like, it's never good enough. That's what we're talking about here. And I will say it's real and it's really intense and it can be debilitating. So the imposter phenomenon term was actually researched and coined by Dr. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes in 1974. This came after they interviewed successful and accomplished women in their fields and discovered many of the women did not feel or believe that their success was real, that they felt like intellectual frauds. A lot of the research around this is around women and people of color and a lot of minority groups. The research kind of states that women, racial minorities, and LGBTQI individuals may feel like they're living a high achiever's version of the Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the other. Individuals who don't match the majority of a group or culture often feel illegitimate, fake, despite their qualifications and accomplishments. And this research correlates to being in a white man's world and having to measure up and feeling very often like I just kind of lucked into my surrounding or situation. Obviously, with more research, we realize like this phenomenon and syndrome impacts a lot of different people, not just minorities, not just women, not just people of color, not just the LGBTQI population. I'm a white man. I'm feeling imposter syndrome just giving this presentation. It happens to a lot of us, but that's a lot of the research is done on that. A lot of this comes from childhood and development and attachment style. So getting conflicting messages at home, you're so smart. You get an A on a paper or on a report card early on and your parents tell you, you're such a smart kid. You're so smart. You're so much smarter than so-and-so. It puts this pressure and expectation. Like, this is who I am. This is how I have to identify. And achievement is very important for me. If I don't achieve to these expectations, then I am a failure. A lot of the conflicting message is like, you get a D on a paper, you get in trouble in class because maybe you are struggling with some sensory overload. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just get this together? Why can't you be like other kids? I thought you were so smart. Almost kind of minimizing the fact that like other qualities are equally as important as being scholastically in tune or inclined. So the recognition that it's not just about getting that A on that paper. I would love for parents to send the message of, okay, this didn't go well, but you tried really hard. And that's what's courageous. That's what creates character, because that's what creates resiliency, the ability to fail or not succeed and get back up. And that process is the process that we're talking about here. Again, just conflicting messages, praise versus criticism, overly praising accomplishments and then being very critical when something doesn't go well. Sending these mixed messages pretty consistently so that the child doesn't really understand where they fit in. And then there becomes this almost like perfectionistic development and mentality of, I need to do more. I need to be better. I need to get an A. I need to exceed these expectations over and over and over again. And that just creates this loop where it's impossible to get out of, to create these unrealistic expectations for yourself so that you're like, an A- isn't good enough. A 93 isn't good enough. I should have done better in that soccer game. Constantly striving for that praise, constantly trying to avoid that criticism. Failure and achievement, again, I think this is so important when we're talking about this imposter syndrome, because really what we're saying is, if I fail, there's no coming back from that. So how can I even try? And if the only thing I'm shooting for is achievement, how do we even measure that? How do we measure success? We can't quantify the ability to try. We cannot put a number on that, but we can understand that while we are going through that process, you're developing all of these skills and traits to make you more successful in the future because you're building resiliency. Ways that imposter syndrome shows up. I know for me, am I good enough is certainly the main theme. That's the voice that's constantly in my head. So everyone may have something different. It may show up like I'm an expert, or I have to be an expert at something in order for me to do it, so that you're repeating the behavior over and over and over again, and you're not asking for help because I'm supposed to know the information. And you can see how troubling that can be, because that means that you're so involved in that process that you can't see anything else, and that you can hold yourself to these unrealistic standards that really don't allow you to take a break, take a step back, see things from a different perspective. Being a soloist, feeling like I've got to do this on my own. If I can't do this on my own, there's something wrong with me. Perfectionism. If you're a recovering perfectionist or a current perfectionist, drop your name in that chat. I think we're not alone in that. This feeling like nothing's ever good enough. I have to improve something and edit it and tweak it constantly. Even this presentation, when I gave it a couple of weeks ago, I was up until like 2 a.m. revising slides and information. And then eventually it was just like, this is a free presentation. It's okay for this to be the outcome and this to be the final result of this. It can always be edited and improved going forward. Being achievement oriented, working towards achievement constantly, feeling like nothing's ever good enough once again. Just kind of recognizing like my value is derivative and correlated to the achievement that I have, completely losing sight of being present, completely losing sight of the things that really, really matter in life. This fraud alert is a picture that resonates with me, where someone's like, I feel fraudulent. I feel like I'm going to be found out to not be good enough or competent enough. Feeling incapable, like an imposter. The just luck one is a big one that a lot of people don't realize. Like, I just lucked into my success. It was just because A, B, and C lined up. That's the only reason I'm here. What do I have to say that's different? I think that prevents a lot of us from stepping out into who we really are professionally. Feeling like, why would I try this if it's already been tried before? And we lose sight of the fact that we all have different approaches and voices and perspectives on things. Somebody else already did that. That's another one, just feeling like that's pretty similar to what do I have to say that's different. Like, why would I go into private practice if someone else is already doing that? Why would I become a business coach if there are other business coaches out there? That kind of thought process. This quote, when I read it, really, really resonated with me in terms of what we're talking about. And it's a quote from Maya Angelou saying, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out. I want everyone to just sit with that for a second and think about what that's like. I have written 11 books and still not feeling good enough, still feeling fraudulent, still feeling less than, still feeling like they're going to find me out eventually and discredit me. If that lands for you, and if you're in this, I would imagine that it does, that's just hopefully a normalization process to feel like, from such an accomplished, incredible human being who still felt that way after all of these accolades, because it just never felt real. It just never felt like enough. I pulled up some quotes from famous actors and actresses and people who we would deem very successful. And I think this is important because this creates the recognition that we're not alone. These are people who have had what we would call massive success. You think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this? From Meryl Streep. Jodie Foster's quote, when I won the Oscar, I thought it was a fluke. I thought everybody would find out and they'd take it back. They'd come to my house knocking on the door. Excuse me, we meant to give that to someone else. That was going to Meryl Streep. Tom Hanks's quote, no matter what we've done, there comes a point where you think, how did I get here? When are they going to discover that I am in fact a fraud and take everything away from me? Feeling fraudulent, feeling incompetent, feeling vulnerable and less than, feeling like my voice doesn't matter and why should I even try? That's the common theme here with all of this stuff. Ryan Reynolds is a personal favorite of mine, especially for Deadpool. And his quote of, I went to a lot of events this year because of Deadpool. You get into a tux and try to look like a grown-up. But to be honest, I still feel like a freckled-faced kid, faking it until I make it. Faking it till I make it comes up a lot with this. Like, we just have to pretend that we feel confident in order to move forward. I don't love that mentality because I would rather have you kind of embrace the things that feel uncomfortable, sit with them, recognize that they exist. Being seen, such a major trigger for shame and vulnerability and feeling insecure. You know, stepping out into a new world, professionally, personally, a new job, a new career choice, a new business venture idea. What does that mean to you to have to put that information out to the world? It feels really scary. It feels like I don't want people to see me do this because then they're going to judge me. They're going to find me out. I would imagine that all of you have a team behind you. Friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, mentors, supervisors, etc. People rooting for you, telling you how great you are at something, encouraging you to do something different. But I know personally that doesn't always feel genuine. If you don't believe it about yourself, then it seems like it discounts or discredits everyone else's input or suggestion or encouragement when they say, you can do this. You've done X, Y, and Z. And you're like, you don't know me like that. Like, I can't do any of this. I just lucked into that. So I would encourage everyone to really kind of tap into that support system and network and really try hard to just like embrace the feelings, because if we believe that people genuinely care about us, we have to imagine that their words are authentic and real, that they're not just blowing smoke for the heck of it. Because if they're really in our corner, we would hope that they would tell us the truth. Some techniques to help with this stuff. And obviously there are many more than just the ones I've wrote down. Saying yes to opportunity. I cannot stress this enough with how important this is. Saying yes to things that are new, different, scary, unsettling. I don't know if any of you have ever said yes to something because you were really excited and then you started to have that internal dialogue about all the reasons you actually shouldn't do it, and then maybe canceled last minute, or maybe created an excuse to not follow through. And I really want to encourage you to say yes to things. Even if we start out small, like the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Start out small. Say yes to opportunities, coffee dates, networkings, presentation opportunities, training opportunities, opportunities to grow professionally, but especially the ones that kind of feel a little uncomfortable. I started doing these imposter syndrome series because it's really uncomfortable for me to be on camera speaking to other people. But the more you do it, the more familiar it becomes, the more accessible it becomes to reach into your resources and to calm yourself, to create some regulation in your nervous system. At the beginning of this, my heart was beating like 100 miles a minute. Right now, I feel pretty good. Saying yes to opportunity. I got asked to be a speaker at a conference in November, and my first instinct was, hell no, don't do that. You don't know what you're talking about. I said yes. I didn't just blindly say yes, but I said yes. And it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be overwhelming, and I'm going to feel like an imposter. But I'm going to see it through, because that's how we grow. That's how we change. That's how we kind of take the power back from whichever voice you hear inside of your head. Self-compassion. I know for helping professionals, we preach this to our clients. We struggle with it ourselves. Self-compassion, treating yourself like a stranger or a friend or a colleague, however you would treat that person. I always ask my clients when they're being hard on themselves, what would you do if this was your friend Billy or your girlfriend or whoever? Oh, I would totally understand, and I would be empathetic, and I would be supportive, because you should be kind to yourself. Okay, let's turn that around. Let's recognize that we didn't know how to ride a bike before we learned how to ride a bike. We had to fall down a bunch of times. We had to get back up. I know for myself, like, I don't know how to do things until someone teaches me how to do them, or I try them and they don't work and I try them again. We can't just go into a process thinking that we're just going to create this level of expertise from moment one. Talking about it, get a therapist, have a mentor, a colleague, a friend, a partner. Just putting it out to the world gives you more power over this imposter syndrome and phenomenon. Being able to say with confidence, like, this is what I'm feeling. I don't know why it's coming up for me, or I do, and I'm just putting it out there, right? Like, it kind of takes it out of our body and our system, and it feels less scary. Track your successes. No matter what kind of person you are, if you're a list person, if you're really organized, if you're like kind of like chaotic in your approach and process, track your successes. Find a way to write them down or to remember them. Post-it notes, Google Drive, files on your computer, a notepad on your phone, a piece of paper, whatever. Little things like, this went really well for me. I got this job. I did this thing. I put myself out there really uncomfortably. Anything that feels like a success, and they can be minute, but we want to build up a bank of successes so that when we're struggling, when we're feeling depleted, we can reach into that bank and grab one of those as an example and resource it so that we can regulate our nervous system. We can combat that inner critic voice, and we can really create that motivation for ourselves to move forward. Knowing your triggers, really important. Just knowing what sets you off, knowing what creates this voice to amplify. Really knowing, like, in my head, what are X, Y, and Z that create imposter syndrome for you? What is it? Stepping out and doing something different, new ideas, etc. Just normalizing your trigger process, like really getting comfortable with saying, these are the things that make me uncomfortable, and I know that they're going to come up. Creating a new script, especially when you're starting something new. So for us perfectionists that struggle with imposter syndrome, our script is typically, if I do this, it better be perfect. And I'm not going to stop editing and tweaking until it is. I want you to create a script that almost says, like, the first time I do this, I'm not going to do well. It's not going to go well for me. And that's okay. And then referencing back to that. Because once again, just like the bike, learning process, if you're trying something new or different or foreign or uncomfortable, there's no way for you to master that right away. There's no way for you to be an expert or to feel comfortable. So I just really want to encourage that. The last time I gave this presentation, my friend spoke up and said, I kind of think of it as like, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but she used the Bogart example in Harry Potter. Play. Play is an important technique for combating imposter syndrome. So if you have this irrational fear or this thing that feels really, really scary, making it playful, making it joyful, making it kid-like, making it funny to kind of combat so that it has less power over you, so it doesn't feel as scary, so that you can kind of say, ha, like, this is silly, this is stupid, like, I can make fun of this thing, or I can make this childlike, because childlike state and play for us is really important. Because when we're talking about imposter syndrome and phenomenon, we're really talking about the inner child piece of us who has been really scarred emotionally, who wasn't developed and nurtured the way that we needed to be developed and nurtured and cared for. I like these images, you know, just falling down, getting back up. When I used to go skiing, I lived in New York growing up, I fall down all the time. I didn't know how to stop. I would fall down on purpose because I was scared that I would keep going faster and then I would get hurt. So falling down allows you to kind of recollect your thoughts, pick yourself up, and try again. If the option is try again or give up, I think most of us have had a lot of examples in our lives where we felt like giving up and we tried again. We picked ourselves up from the dirt, off the ground. It was hard. We felt like it was going to be impossible, and yet you saw it through. Whether that was going to graduate school, taking a licensing test, getting a job as a clinician, right? Like, I didn't know how to do an assessment or diagnose or do a note appropriately or hold space for a client or handle crisis situations. Like, I had to learn those things. And at first, those things felt really scary and really overwhelming, but you become more comfortable with the process the more that you try. Just like these images, that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. If we're always living in complacency and comfort, we're not growing and really not comparing yourself to others. I know that other people's paths are going to be different. I know that there are other voices out there doing similar things that you want to do. I also understand that there are other people who may accomplish more than you do. That's okay. Everyone's situation is unique and individualized. So it would be really impossible to say that my life should turn out exactly like his life or her life, because we don't know everyone's situation. We don't know what resources they have, and we don't know all of the factors. So it's really impossible to compare ourselves to other people. It doesn't do us any good. And social media, unfortunately, really amplifies that desire to, like, I need to take as many vacations as so-and-so. I need to do this the way this person does. Like, find your own voice. Find what works for you, because what works for you maybe doesn't work for X, Y, and Z. And that's really important to remember. I really like this quote. I'm sure most of you know who Albert Einstein is or was. Anyone who never made a mistake never tried anything new. I want you all to think about that. Anyone who never made a mistake never tried anything new. We've all made mistakes, and I'm sure a lot of them have come when we've tried to push ourselves out of our comfort zones or do something different or challenging. And I want you to think about those moments, the moments that felt challenging and scary and overwhelming, and how you moved through those things and what the other side of that process looks like, so that you can kind of go back and reflect upon that. The recognition that, like, oh yeah, I have been here before. This stuff is really hard or challenging or scary, but I've gotten through it before and I will get through it again. We need those reminders. Just believing in yourself when you feel like you can't. Retraining the pathways in our brain instead of defaulting to negative thinking patterns. Trying really hard to have positive affirmation. And self-care isn't selfish. Doing the things that you need to recharge, disconnect, restore, and ground yourself so that you can come back to the process that feels really scary and overwhelming with a clear head and new energy. Just really believing that success is not a measurable thing. This is not something that is an A on a paper, a trophy at a competition. So much more about the process than the finish line. It is about training for the marathon, not finishing it. It's about the process that we kind of put ourselves in. Just want to say thank you for watching this and listening to this. I hope it was helpful. And I think that for a lot of us helping professionals or entrepreneurs or creative people, we struggle with this, and it's okay. That's okay for us to struggle with these things and to admit that. Coming back to this room, just kind of want to check in with everyone, see if there's any questions, and we can get this raffle going. I appreciate this. Panelists, anything on your minds while you're sitting here? See a question from Teresa. Teresa, what you got? Yeah, and that's okay. This isn't all childhood trauma specific. I think that, some of us just become perfectionists and we tend to kind of place a heavy emphasis on achievement in general, and that can be conditioned via social media. That can be conditioned just by our lifestyle, our culture. Our culture puts a heavy emphasis on achievement, and if you're not doing more, then you're not doing enough. So I don't think it's all childhood specific by any means. I do think society puts a heavy emphasis on achieving. So if anyone has questions or comments, an ACE adult scale. Yeah, an ACE adult scale would be good. I think that would certainly be helpful. Panelists, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this stuff?
I mean, it happens all the time. Like you said, it never goes away. It may be that you start doing something and you feel really comfortable and you get really good at it and you have a lot more confidence and it doesn't show up as much. But the minute that I try anything new, it comes back and it's like, well, who are you to do this? And you're not going to be good at this. What will other people think of you? Are you going to do it right? So a lot of that perfectionism comes in. So yeah, I've been experiencing it as I grow my businesses. Every single time I try something new, I almost don't follow through with it. But everything that has happened as far as growth, there's been a period of being terrified and just doing it anyway. And then the benefits come later.
Yeah. And that's kind of the process, is the terrified, but doing it anyway. And Cindy and I have talked about this for years, because Cindy and I live in Asheville and have both went into private practice around the same time. And Cindy started doing coaching before I did. And I kept telling her, like, I don't want to launch a coaching business because you're already doing coaching. That's the kind of mentality that we can have, is like, other people are doing this, so I should not.
Yeah, I felt the same way when I started mine, because I'm like, oh, Jane Carter and Allison Pereira, they live in Asheville and they're already doing coaching. So like, who am I to start? We don't need another coach. But then it's like every single person has something different to offer.
Definitely. Well said. Ariel, Jacqueline?
For me, it comes down to I'm going to be found out. Like, I'm not smart enough. I don't know the terminology enough. If I go and train, there's somebody in that audience that's going to know more than me and question me, and then I'm going to be stuck. It's that, for me, it's complete fear. And like I said, before this profession, I wasn't like that. I would get up, I would do things, I would go for it. Like I did perform. I had no issues. Soon as I got in this profession, it was like to go out in front of peers and to give part of my story or to make myself vulnerable out there. That's terrifying to me. And I stand in my own way because I know I have the experience, I have the education, I have a lot of things to offer and give, but man, do I get in my own way. I stop myself. I have been asked to do so many things and I say no.
Yeah, I think that's so insightful, and thank you for sharing that. I feel the exact same way, and I think it's because in this profession, and even in the creative professions that have some commonality, we are giving a part of ourselves away all the time. So we're exposing ourselves and creating more vulnerability pretty often so that it can feel more raw. It can feel like we're going to be more scrutinized in terms of how we're going to come across. And it's unfortunate because what you're saying, and I'm looking at the comments, like other people are like, yes, this is a thing. Like we're all experiencing this. So I want people to think about that too. Like as our stories are being told and we're feeling vulnerable and uncomfortable, we're not alone in that, because I imagine that almost everyone in this profession is feeling this to some degree, where they're like, yeah, this is how I experience this in this way or that way. So Ariel, what are your thoughts considering, all right, my wife is an actress, and I know I've seen her rehearsals. I've seen her beat the hell out of herself saying like, this is not good enough. Nobody should watch this, etc. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I am trying to transition into becoming an actress professionally. I should start there. I am currently in the criminal justice field, and I've been in this field for about 10 years. So I still deal with, I absolutely know how to do my job, and I can do it with my eyes closed. But I still have issues and and scared to step up and do things and answer questions and help other people. So I deal with it every day. And now that I'm trying to take on being an actress, it is very, very hard to sit and do things over and over again and then watch myself do those things. And I have to critique myself. It's very, very rare for me to be like, yes, that right there, that's why people want to see you. Don't nobody want to see me, at least that's what my head says. But yeah, I mean, it's all around. It happens every day. I do feel like I am good at both things, but I'm constantly learning, and I obviously have it in the back of my head all the time that nobody is going to hire me and nobody wants to see me on TV or in movies or all that. So it's the same thing every day. It's scary. It's hard. It's something completely new. So yeah, walking away from something so solid to something that's absolutely not is hard. So
yeah, thank you for that. And I think that betting on ourselves and taking that leap of faith of like, it's going to work out for me, that's where we can really start to struggle in our mentality of, why me? Why would I be successful at this? I need to play it safe. Like I can't bet on myself for this. So I just want everyone to hear that we all experience this stuff, and it's really real and it's really intense. So I appreciate everyone being here. Just to let everyone know that's in the chat, I do private practice coaching for therapists. So if any therapists are in this chat looking to start their private practice or want coaching, my website is in the chat. I have a 6-week course that I'm selling in September. So certainly something to take a look at. I'm going to do this raffle situation. It's going to take me a second because I got to punch in everyone's names. So Ariel, if you can tell me names that we have.
Okay. So I have Jess, and then I have Maria A, Michelle M.
I think there's 2 Michelle M's that I saw.
Oh, are there 2? Okay. Yeah. I didn't see I only saw 1. So 2 Michelle M's. and then Sarah L, Larissa M, and then I'm gonna Sir, S-R-I,
Sorry.
Sari, and then Karen D, and then Pablo J is what I have. And if I didn't say your name, type it in real fast.
Yeah, if anyone is interested in getting into the raffle for
G.
Jenny, I see your name, Bethany, I see your
Bethany.
name. I'm going to do that right now. We're going to raffle off a free individual coaching session. Kelly, I see your name.
Woohoo.
Give it another second just in case anyone's typing or getting that. I will share my screen and I will do this. I found a random raffle name generator. I don't know how good this is going to work, but we're going to see. Okay, that looks like it. So let me share my screen. We'll do this real quick and then I'll get in touch with you. So everyone's name is right here on this. And we're just going to start that. And it kind of randomizes the names.
This is cute.
And the winner is Jenny. Congratulations, Jenny. And I might do one more just because Jenny's already in my course. So Jenny, I will give you that extra coaching session, but you are getting a bunch of coaching sessions. So we'll do one more just in case.
I was going to say, Patrick, that I was going to put my name in, but since I'm also a coach, I'm not going to take that away from someone else, but I'm feeling some major imposter syndrome about new things that I want to do with my business, but we can chat about that sometime.
Definitely. And I'm, happy to support. Karen D, you are the other winner.
Woo!
So Karen, if you can put your email address in this chat, that way I can get in touch with you. And Jenny, I'll obviously be in touch with you. Jenny's taken my class all the way from Alaska, which has been really cool, except for the time difference. Probably for her, not for me. All right. So everyone, I appreciate this. I did, in fact, record this today. Like I did not do the first time, which was a major imposter syndrome moment for me to realize like it had gone well. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh no. Needless to say, thank you for your time. Feel free to follow me at Casale Coaching. That dog is cute, but also maybe a gremlin or devil.
He's a devil child.
Yeah. So everyone have a good Sunday and a good weekend. And yeah, thank you, Melissa. Melissa, where are you coming from again? I'm sorry, I missed so many comments in this. Moving to New Jersey. Okay, gotcha. Very cool. Oh, Ernesto's in here too. I didn't know. I did not realize he was in here.
Neither did I.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it once again. I'm going to do another one probably in a few weeks, so just keep an eye out for that. I'm just reading through these comments real quick. And yeah, thanks for coming from India. That's fantastic. Suri, how did you find this training? Just curious. Instagram, Facebook, how did that work out for you? Facebook. Okay, cool.
Right.
So, your virtual assistant, she must be doing something right. Everyone take care. And Karen, I will get in touch with you. And Jenny, I'll see you in class. And everyone have a good weekend. Panelists, thank you. Maria, I will let you know when the next one is for sure. And yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.